I am Rebecca from ChemKnits, and today we're going to use my shoebox yarn dyeing technique on a very special sparkle yarn using some very pigmented, saturated dye stocks. Before we talk more about today's project, I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to today's lab partner, Cindy. Cindy, thank you so much for being my lab partner for today's episode of Deypot Weekly. Now, I mentioned today we're going to be dyeing a very sparkly yarn. Let's go take a closer look at this Superwash Merino Lurex blend. Shimmer Fingering is a Lurex blend from Wool to Dye For. Lurex is a thicker silvery fiber that I believe is plastic coated with aluminum or something. And this fiber is plied with a yarn in a way that you get a bit of a barber pull. It is very well defined on the yarn. This makes the yarn a little bit more shiny than sparkly because the metallic fiber isn't randomly distributed throughout the yarn. But it is so much fun. I pre-soaked this yarn overnight in some plain tap water with no additional acid. And my hope is that by dyeing this yarn a dark saturated color, we can really see that silver Lurex pop. In my shoebox here, I'm adding 8 cups of water. And I think we're going to start with no acid. This is a little bit of one of those instances where I'm going to make things up as I go along. And I don't know yet if I'm going to want to lift after I add the dyes on, if I'm going to want to lift the yarn to blend the colors through, if I'm going to want to blend it through manually myself like this, or what. And the nice thing is that we have flexibility. I know a lot of times when I do what I call my shoebox technique, I do the similar thing. I'll pour colors on, let it sit, and then I'll lift the yarn to move it all around before returning it sort of in place. And that's a beautiful way to blend the colors. But I'm not limited to that. So we will see what we're gonna do, but let me show you the colors. The colors I am planning on using today include cabernet, forest green, dark navy, and maybe a tiny bit of deep purple, but I think I may leave that one out and just stick with those 3 because that's what I have the most of. Now, I started out measuring out for all these colors that I used in another project. I weighed out 1 gram of dye and then dissolved it until the cup was almost completely, was like 2/3 full. And so I don't know what volume of liquid that is, but actually we can check this. Okay, so here I have about 250 milliliters, and I cannot fill that cup. That was our yellow for another project. So therefore, in under 200 milliliters, I dissolved it in. So therefore, we have approximately under we definitely don't have a 1% stock solution with 1 gram of dye per 100 milliliters. I would say we have maybe between a 0.5 and a 0.8% stock solution, which is only worth bringing up because I know I think I'm going to use all of the green. I may use all of the navy. I only want to use about half of the cabernet. And then I know that in doing that, I'm going to have less than 2 grams of dye on our 200 grams of yarn. But these are proportions, and I'm doing a back of the envelope calculation, mainly so that way I know, okay, I'm not going to add too much dye. I'm not going to add more dye than our yarn can handle. I don't know if I have ever done a cold process technique on yarn with Lurex. It's possible that I have. Lurex is less finicky than Stellina in that I believe you can use citric acid with it. I haven't, but I believe that you can. But because the Stellina is plied through, it is going to stand out a little bit more than other colors. But okay, let's go ahead and do this. I want to use almost all, or all of our dark navy dye. I am carefully pouring it on, very carefully and slowly. Next, I want to come through with our forest green, and I'm going to add this in on this side, mostly on the zip tie, but it's gonna move. It's gonna move through. And then when it comes to the Cabernet, I'm going for about half of this, I think. Cabernet as a color is a little bit more finicky, but it's also very, very, very potent and very dominant. Okay, that is good so far. I've done that. Now, what I need to do is try to work these colors through, and I want to do that before I add acid. And I'm going to move the dyes away, and I'm going to start over with the forest green and sort of work the dyes through, I think is what I want to do today. We still have no acid in here, which means that as I do this, the colors will still likely be the most saturated right where I've put them, but this is allowing me to sort of add these colors, and I'll be able to check on the side to see how much they've moved through. They may move through a lot and blend a lot, and that could be fine. Actually, I can see on the sides, I wish, oh, I do have a yarn mop for another video. You're gonna have some Cabernet on you now. Someday Rebecca's gonna be very, very confused about this. Okay, and I want to work on the sides, because since I can see, and I don't know if you can really see the side, I can use that as I'm trying to work these colors through, but without spreading it too much. You know what? At this point, I do want to come and add a little bit of acid, because I am working and blending these colors through a lot. Let's do 1. Oh, that looks so cool. 2, 3, 4 tablespoons of white vinegar. That is a fair amount for 8 cups of water. And you can tell that I'm thinking a lot when I go silent. I'm trying to like press the yarn down, but also fluff it back up. The goal is to have something so saturated here that it looks very, very black. It does look quite black, but I want to see that silver stellina really, really pop, and I think that that would be really beautiful. I am still seeing some areas on the bottom, and actually I can pick this up, but I didn't really talk about cold process. Cold process dyeing just means I'm doing things at room temperature, and it means I'm gonna let things sit for a longer period of time to let colors absorb. Today, it happens to be such that all my heaters, all my burners are covered right now. And so I don't have space to go and heat this and use another container. And it can be beneficial like that. Now, usually what I will do is I'll take this yarn, I'll let it sit outside for 24, 48 hours. Today's a Friday. I'll probably come back to it on Monday and then steam set it. But then when I steam set it, almost all the color is in the yarn, and therefore I'm not going to worry about the green touching the Cabernet or anything like that. What I want to do now is very carefully lift and check the bottom. Okay. I checked the bottom. There is white on the bottom. And that is not what I want. So I am going to need to be a little more aggressive now with my working the colors through, lifting, really working that in. And by white, I mean it's more pastel. We have enough acid in here that if I were to lift and move things, we would get, we would be fine. But I am trying to be careful. And there's still gonna be some lighter areas. And you know what? It is what it is. We're still gonna have beautiful pops of color, but there's gonna be some areas that are lighter because I didn't lift it. Because ultimately, even though with our water to yarn ratio, we have like a lot of volume in here, we're in a very crowded situation. And so if I wanted the same saturation that I have up here on the bottom too, What I would need to do would be to have checked before adding acid, but to really work the dyes through, and when I was at this point of it, to really lift. But you can see we have some less saturated areas, significantly less saturated areas. So actually, I'm changing my mind constantly. What I am gonna do now is we're gonna lift the yarn. You know what? It's fine. It's still fun. We're gonna add, this is gonna add a little bit of red all over, even on the green. It's gonna muddy things a bit, but it's gonna be fine. Do I like that? It's fine. Okay, I'm changing my mind again. Okay, I'm gonna remove the yarn, because that's mostly red. And it's not that I'm mad at that. I was like, but I do have an opportunity to bring in a little bit more blue just from this paintbrush. And so if we're doing this, then let's do this and work this paintbrush that had just a little bit of that dark navy dye all the way through. I mean, I have the navy dye right here. I could add more of it in. I don't think I want to do that because I do like this, and the little hints of purple with the green are nice, but I just wanted to bring a hint more pigment over. And I know I have more of that cabernet. We could do more of that. It's gonna be gorgeous and pretty. I'm not worried about that. I just wanted a little more blue. And you know what? Okay, I'm gonna set this aside for like a little bit. I'm not gonna take it all the way outside yet. I'm gonna get a lid, and I'm just gonna set it to the side for an undetermined amount of time. I would say at least 15 minutes, and then we'll come back and think about what we're gonna do. I just took the lid off and said to myself, you know what, this looks more saturated, that little like purpley bit, and so therefore I'm not feeling like I need to add more dye to this in any kind of bad way. You can already, now that most of the color is in our yarn, you can already start to see some of that contrast with the stellina. Yeah, the contrast is way more visible now than it was at the beginning, but also it's more visible now because with, well, I mean, I removed that section from the dye entirely, but with less dye in there, the water is more translucent and less opaque, so that also helps. Now, there really isn't that much pigment left in here. I could remove the yarn and just let the rest of that dye stay behind. I could remove the yarn and go and steam set it and wash it and be done. But I am going to go ahead and finish the cold process that I like to do, and I'm going to set this aside outdoors for a couple of days. It is warm enough that some colors would set completely without needing a steam set in the end. I like to do that steam set because it means that I know the colors are well set, and there are some pigments that really do need it. So I will see you in a couple of days. It is 10 a.m. Oh my gosh, this is hot. On a Monday, on a 90-degree day, and we had a 90-degree day yesterday, and like there was steam in here. The water, okay, there's a cool pocket in there, but there's warmth in here. The color is all in our yarn, maybe a hint of pink. So why am I still gonna steam set it? You know, I'm touching it with my hands, not even with gloves. I believe that these colors are very well set on here, but there are some pigments. And over the years, I've had the water be clear and I've gone to wash it and had dyes bleed out. And so because there's some pigments that maybe will stick to the yarn but not be fully set, The steaming for 30 minutes does not take a long time in the process and makes me feel better about the colors just staying put. Look at the contrast of our Lurex with the dyed color though. It is just beautiful. I'm gonna go and edit a video while I wait and just pop this in a steamer basket for 30 minutes. Then I have to let it cool and wash. But this is something again that can happen easily while I'm working on other projects without disrupting the flow of filming and dyeing yarn. And so, yeah, it works well for me. And the other thing was that the other day when I was doing this, I didn't have heat. I didn't have like the space and the pans to be heating the yarn. And so this allowed me to dye this yarn when otherwise I probably would have had to wait till another day. So there are many reasons why I love doing this. But I will see you in 30 minutes when I remove this steamer basket and we remove the yarn to let it cool. It has been 30 minutes. I am going to turn off the heat and we're going to remove our yarn. Ooh, maybe it did seem like a tiny bit of red came out. And no noticeable amount of color. So that is good. But now our yarn is super steamy. I'm going to want to set it aside to let it cool completely before we go ahead and wash it. It's still so shiny. Yay! Let's wash Cindy's Lurex yarn, which is very beautiful. I'm going to add some dish soap. And I'm hoping to be optimistic here. All right, I see minimal bad stuff. Oh goodness, and by minimal bad stuff, I mean, I see maybe a little hint of color, but that is very light, if there's anything there compared to what I see in the yarn. And there really is not much there, so this is good. Oh, it's so shiny. I really need to order more of this yarn base. I'm really happy too, because I was nervous that this purple coming through was gonna be too pastel. And I really wanted there to be more pigment there. I wanted the color to feel like even in intensity or saturation. And I feel like it does. I am really happy. I was afraid it was gonna be too pastel. And I'm glad I didn't go and dissolve more navy or something because I think that this is pretty. And that those little shifts between the more purple and more green areas kind of go nicely with the like shimmer that we have in the yarn itself. But anyway, I'm gonna go pop this through my spin dryer to spin out some of the liquid. Helps it dry faster. I'm gonna hang up the yarn to dry and let's take a look at what it looks like finished. Unfortunately, I know it's gonna be lighter than this because I really like the depth it's at, but I'm really excited to see it. This purple that was the average of our more saturated colors is so pretty. Yes, it's less saturated than say our forest green, our navy, or our cabernet, but it brings in almost a silvery feel that goes with that silver Lurex beautifully. And speaking of that Lurex, you can see even when I have like my soft box up, that shine that we have in here for it. I would say, again, Lurex is more shiny versus sparkly, just because for the sparkle, you kind of want like things to be at random places, but it catches the light and the contrast with these darker colors is beautiful. I mean, there's contrast in with this silvery purple as well, but oh, I love it. I feel like I said in the live stream where I was working on dyeing this originally that I need more of this yarn base. And I absolutely do. I have a strategy with my wool to dye for orders where I try to have some things that I want in my cart almost at all times. That way, if I need just one bag of something, I have enough things that I need to fill up a wholesale order. And so therefore, because I didn't need this base urgently I did not have it in my most recent order and saved it for sort of a future one. Because inevitably, I know I'm going to need to order more yarn for, say, the ChemKnits Hanukkah special, or Halloween, or Black Friday, or something like that. And so if you want to make sure that you're aware of the latest ChemKnits offering, please subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a new video. And you should also consider following me on social media. I will always post like a YouTube post when I launch a new big pre-order, but I also post across social media, and so maybe you might be more likely to see it on Instagram or Facebook than here. I don't know, but you can find all of my handles down in the video description. There are loads of perks of subscribing here on YouTube. I post generally at least 2 full-length videos every single week, and then we also have a lot of shorts and other behind-the-scenes content and live streams, and everything is so much fun. I want to give another huge thank you to today's lab partner, Cindy. Cindy, thank you so much for being my lab partner for today's episode of Deypot Weekly, and I really hope you're going to love your yarn. And oh my gosh, it is so shiny, which you can really see while it is out of focus. I can't get the camera to focus on it right now. It's focusing on me. But it's so shiny and pretty. And Cindy, I hope you're going to love it. If you want to learn more about how you can become a lab partner like Cindy, go and check out the listings in the ChemKnits Creations Etsy shop. There are 2 different ways you can sign up. You can sign up to become a last-minute lab partner and pick from videos that I've already started filming, and then you can see little hints about the colors and the technique I use in the videos. Or you can sign up through the lab partner listing where you pick a yarn base, tell me some colors to avoid, and then I'll start filming and dyeing the yarn for your lab partner video. If you have any questions about either of these, please send me a message over on Etsy, and I'm happy to answer any of your shop related questions over there. For some reason, this yarn is really giving off holiday vibes. Maybe it is the cabernet and forest green next to each other, or the silver. It's making me think of wrapping paper and ribbons and everything. Of course, I also currently have Hanukkah on the brain because as I'm filming this in mid-August, I'm thinking about planning pre-orders and whatnot. And if there is anything ready for a 2025 ChemKnits Hanukkah special, I will have a link down below in the video description and in the comments section. Love, 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 love. I'm so happy. Thank you so much for watching.